Yeah, we were speaking just before we went live. You kind of worked with and spoke with and did bits and pieces with Derek Parfit, who's kind of almost like a sort of trying to ground um, moral realism outside and away from a god. And also, you've read and engaged with a whole plethora of atheistic philosophers. There is a subsection of atheistic philosophy which is really interested in that sort of materialism and the idea that materialism is a simpler explanation to everything around us compared to a god. So I thought it'd be really interesting. I know that you've spoken to Oppie on a couple of occasions about this. That is Graham Oppie from Monash University. Really, really interesting philosopher. I think it'd be really helpful, Professor Swinburne, to ask you to Steelman the sort of materialistic position, to explain it as clearly and coherently as possible. I'm aware that you're speaking, you're not writing, so it's never going to be as clear as it could be. But then to kind of then explain why it doesn't hold weight for you.
Well, the materialist position can be expressed in one or two different ways, um, but the most materialist of these ways is that every the only things, the only substances of the world are physical things. They may be atoms or quarks or conglomerations of atoms, and we are such a conglomeration. And the only properties they have are size and shape and mass and charge and a few other things allowed by physics. And everything is really, that looks a bit different from that, is really reducible to it. And so we are really basically physical things, and uh, we have a part, a brain, which on the uh, dualist view causes separate events separate from the physical, but on the physicalist view, all our thoughts and feelings and so on are just brain states and brain events. And that's all there is, the interaction of these things. Now, that, as I've stated it, seems an immensely complicated one in this respect that it postulates an innumerable number, infinite no doubt, of substances in the world which, as it were, are independent entities. They all have very similar properties to each other, but there they are. Each one of them has the same property of attracting each other one with a force proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of their distance apart, as in the law of gravity. And there they are, and they're the basic elements of things. And the complexity of that is, well, firstly, actually, each substance has got have quite a number of separate properties. Its powers to interact with other substances in accordance with the law of gravity, in accordance with the strong force, the weak force, and electromagnetic force. Um, and it's at this place rather than that place, and so on. But the real complexity is that there are innumerable ones, and there isn't a a single cause of them which holds them in being. They're just operative on their own. Um, you may say, well, there's a single cause of them in that they're all caused by some primeval event, the Big Bang. But if you say that, then the Big Bang has to have built into it, as it were, all the separate properties of the individual things. And so it has to have built into it that there will be just those individual things, whether there are a finite or an infinite number of them, and they would have just those properties and be in just those places. And that seems to me a very complicated starting point for things. So that's what I've got against it. It is very complicated.
If you enjoyed this clip, then head on over to Locals to access the full conversation right now. Supporters can access the video version, and everyone can access the audio-only version of the conversation. I'll see you over there.